Back in March 2021, I uploaded a video called Dom's Overhaul, showcasing modifications I did to the model of Dom for production of Season 2 of Steam Railway Stories, and to basically make him look a bit more like his real life counterpart, Hunslet number 686 Lady Armadale, who, as you probably might have guessed, is my all-time favourite locomotive. And between then and now, Dom has had another overhaul, and he looks 1,000 times better too. Yes folks, despite this model looking a bit more like what I wanted Dom to look like, the overall result looked very sloppy and I just wasn't happy with it after a while. So somewhere around late 2021, I decided, you know what, if I want this character to look more like his real life basis, then I'm going to need help to make him look more like his real basis. To begin with, instead of being a kit bash of other models like before, Dom's new model is instead a 3D printed body shell by my good friend 22 Tesla. I DM'd Tesla via his Twitter asking him if he could help me with this project, to which he agreed. A lot of the credit and a massive thank you definitely has to go to him for making this a reality. And I'll also leave a link to his channel and Shapeways store, Midnight Valley Railway Workshop, in the video description. Once Tesla agreed to help, I sent him a rough, and rather bad, edit of what I wanted the new Dom model to look like, using the Bachmann Thomas as a guide, as well as a Google Doc with reference images of the real engine. After several months of toing and froing and making adjustments, Tesla printed the models, yes there were two of these but at different lengths to see which one would fit the chassis better, and he sent me them. In the end, the shorter one would be the chosen one. Once I received the models, I test fitted the body on the chassis I would be using, the same chassis I used for the old Dom model, and surprisingly, it fitted quite well, just with some blue tack added to the ends painted black to help attach the chassis. Soon after, I test fitted the parts including the buffers and lamp irons, as well as adding some extra holes for the safety valves, whistle, and this part. I don't really know what its purpose is, but it's a thing on the real engine, so... Anyway, the little box thing as seen on Lady Armadale was made from a 57XX sandbox by Sparkshot Custom Creations with extra added bits. It was roughly identical to the real thing, so I used it. Next came the buffer housings. This was pretty much a trial and error process, but after a few failed attempts, I used plastic card to make the buffer housings, drilled holes in the middle, slid the buffers in, carefully cut the corners to make them curved, attached them to the buffer beams, added tiny dots of plasticine to make rivets, and sealed the buffers in with some plastic weld. Once that was done, I took Dom outside for painting. First I sprayed him with a fine light grey primer, then gave him his main paint colour. The paint in question is Tamiya Spray 50 Mica Blue. After letting the paint dry for about 20 to 30 minutes, I took the model back inside for more painting, but this time with system-free acrylics. These included the buffers, buffer beams, running board, smoke box, cab roof, windows, and coal bunker. Next came the lining. On previous models, I painted the lining on, with rather thick and bad results. But for this model, I used circuit vinyl, which you simply peel and stick. I then painted strips of black above and under the lining, something of which 6886 had, but something I never applied to the previous model. The more details you find, the better. Anyways, after that, I gave Dom his nameplates from his old model, which were done by Narrow Planet. I think they go by a different name now, but I can't remember what. While his number plates were made in probably the most simplest of simplest ways, in MS Paint of all things, which was then printed out and glued onto some card, which was then carefully cut out and glued into place on his bunker. Couldn't be simpler, and after all the parts were placed in, I added some coal to the bunker, which is actually real crushed coal sold by Pico, which was then super glued into place to stop it from going everywhere. I then added some coal dust weathering to the bunker, gave the model a coat of matte clear to seal in the details, and attached the body to the chassis. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how I came to accomplishing the Dom the Hunslet Engine model I had always wanted. It has been a long journey to get him to look the way he does now, starting out as a kit bash model with chunky paintwork, to a slightly modified kit bash model with smoother paintwork, ish, to finally looking more like the real deal, straight down to the curved corners on his water tanks. Now, despite looking 100% complete, the model actually isn't. At some point, I want to replace Dom's faces as the old ones are starting to look rather tacky, and if you have watched my series, you might have noticed they are very inconsistent in size. But until then, I am super happy with how this model turned out. Just like what the Unlucky Tug said in one of his Tugs Trains videos, seeing through a model's construction from start to end is so satisfying. And in the case of this model, I can wholeheartedly agree. Once again, I would like to thank 22 Tesla for helping with this project. Without his amazing modelling skills, this model probably wouldn't have seen the light. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.